Welcome to the JISS podcast. I'm extremely pleased to have with me this afternoon Professor and Colonel in the Reserves, Gabi Siboni. He is the CEO of the Jerusalem Institute for Strategy and Security, an expert on cybersecurity, military strategy, and technology. Professor Siboni was the director of the Military and Strategic Affairs Program and the Cyber Research Program at the Institute for National Security Studies in Tel Aviv from 2006 to 2020. Where he founded academic journals, and he serves as a senior consultant to the IDF and other security organizations in the defense establishment. Gabi, how are you this afternoon?
I'm fine. It is served in the past because after my criticism on the IDF during the war, I don't think they want to hire me anymore.
Well, that's very unfortunate if that's the case, because what could be better for any organization than constructive criticism? So
Um,
let me start with, we're going to expand on that. Now that you've thrown this metaphorical grenade into the discussion, we're going to come back to this. But let's start with your book. You've just recently published a book from Canaan. It describes your life story. It describes how you have formed your very unique perspective on national security, on the role of the military and the government and the military, all of the key issues that are now being reshaped in this current stage in Israeli history. Tell me about this book, Gabi. I'm sure that our readers will be very interested in hearing about it. And will
first
it
of
also
all,
be in
first of all,
English?
yeah. First, I don't have it yet in English. I have to see how I am going to translate and publish it in English. Maybe I'll discuss it with you because I'm not aware of I'm not familiar of English publications, how it's done in outside.
Okay.
Anyway, I have a copy of the book here, so maybe I'll show it to the owners. And uh, I published the book. I began writing it before the war, just before the war, but the war gave it a big catalyst, and I'm discussing all the hot issues regarding our military, security, social, legal, you name it. So I'm touching all the key issues of our existence, and I don't know how to say mashikun, the old shikunim
I think we
to
would call it the public housing for
public
immigrants.
housing of the new immigrants.
No,
My
yep.
parents came from Morocco, so it's in Hebrew, it rhymes, but from the public housing to the need for correction in Israel. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes. And I believe that you grew up in Safed, in Tzfat. Is that
In
correct? And
Safed, Canaan is a neighborhood of Safed. It's a neighborhood of the Olim in Safed. And then I grew up until I was 18. Yes, I
yeah.
was there for junior and high school.
Yeah, and there's a double meaning here because Canaan is, of course, the ancient name for our land, for
For
the land of
Israel, yes.
Israel, and so literally from Canaan in different ways. And I think that
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have a friend who read the book. It was published this week. Who read the book and told me you should add the name Canaan to your name. So this should be Gabi Siboni Canaan.
yeah. So tell us in a few sentences, how did your childhood upbringing, how do you think it affected the rest of your professional perspective? What how did
I'll tell you
yeah.
something. I'll tell you something. During the war, I've heard Ilan Davidi, I think is the name of Alon Davidi, the name of the mayor of Sderot.
Hmm.
While he said that the strength of the population of Sderot was due to the grandmothers of Sderot, the old Moroccan grandmothers. And immediately took me to my grandmother, whom
Hmm.
I've grown with. And I saw that, he was right. And the grandmothers, our mothers, the grandmothers that came from Morocco did not have any contract with the country. They didn't say if, then we leave, if or whatever. And
Yep.
I think many should learn from our grandmothers and mothers or our parents how is the commitment to the state of Israel and the understanding that this is the Jewish people state and we should protect it as much as we can. So if you ask how my position on security issues started, probably it started when I was very young from my grandmother and mother and of course parents.
So I think this is a very profound message, and it's something that's worth pausing on for just a moment because this is something that you've been saying repeatedly over the past year, and I remember the first time I heard you say it that our citizenship and belonging cannot be conditional.
Never.
Our Israeliness has got to be unconditional, and if it's conditional, then we can't have a future here. It's not going to work.
Absolutely. You are absolutely right. And this is why during the, let's say, the protest against our legal reforms, this was 223, I think, yes. And people said, if then, so if something happens, then I will leave the country, or then whatever. And I say now, because I'm really furious as those who neglected our security, stopped their service in the IDF and the Air Force. And I say, they will, for me, they will never be forgiven. Never. There is no forgiveness for such a conduct. And this is why I probably many of my social, social surroundings are looking at me in a different way after I'm
Yeah.
saying. But I say it because I told my friends whom I served with during the time, why do you put the IDF into this middle political discourse? And it was
Absolutely.
terrible. It was terrible, and I still advocate against it. And also in the book there is a chapter about it. And that's how I am, and that's who I am. So I can't be
Sure.
something else.
So, I think that, what you're describing is very interesting because it raises two national interests, at least the way I understand them. One is absolutely the idea of unconditional citizenship, and now you're taking it a step further. And this should be obvious, unconditional military service, because the minute we condition it on, anybody can condition it from the right, from the left. The minute we start throwing in conditions, it's the military's over as a people's army. So I couldn't agree with you more. But then there's the other issue of how does this get transmitted without causing a huge tear? Because we also want to be able to have a rigorous argument with our fellow country
Look,
people.
I'll tell you, if you give you an example, and people are looking at it, something they don't understand. Gadi Eisenkot is a good friend of mine. He's my brother. I love him unconditionally. And he's a
Hmm.
good friend of mine, and we don't agree on many issues. It does
Yep.
not affect. I tell you, maybe we should write a book how to be rivals and friends at the same time.
Yes, I
And
think you should, by the way. I really do.
yes, you know it, and I don't see any other way. But other people, they have difficulties, and that's it. I'm
Yeah.
I'm there for them. I'm not going anywhere. So if they want to contact me back, I'm here, and no question asked. I'm
Hmm.
always there. And mind you, I look at my video and I see the picture of my grandmother there, whom I grown with, and she taught me to speak Moroccan, which I use occasionally at television shows.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, I've seen you use that. So yeah, I definitely think that as a people we have to learn from our history because, when we tear each other apart, we've lost our kingdoms and our sovereignty to enemies because I think we have this problem as a Jewish people. We definitely have this problem. Let me take us to the very big elephant in the room, which is the situation in Iran. And I would love to get your take about how you see the current tension. It seems that President Trump has a list of options that he's waiting to choose from as the aircraft carrier strike group, the dialogue with all of the powers in the region, first and foremost Israel, and then the Arab powers. And it seems to me, and I'd like to get your take on this, that he's actually right now in the negotiation stage. It seems to me like he's still open to
Look.
negotiations with
I
Iran.
hope it is not the case. You mean negotiation with Iran, or
Yes, 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 yes.
I hope this is not the case because Iran is the top negotiator ever in this world. So if you go to negotiate with them, you've lost already. But anyway, I want to tell you something. There was, and there still is, an opportunity that will not come back in the foreseen future in Iran. And if we miss this opportunity, it will be a very, very poor for Israel and for the world. Again, I go to Moroccan. We have a saying in Moroccan. I will not say it in Moroccan, but I'll tell you. The lady is putting makeup and so much, she's a lot of trying to look better. And meanwhile, the party has finished and is over. So she's trying to be at her best to the party, but when she
Yeah.
comes, there is no one there.
Yep.
This is the situation. So we are preparing, and the US is preparing and considering options. But we need to use the residual energy that is left in Iran. And
Yes.
you can't, bombing will not let's say be the key factor of replacing the regime in Iran. The people of Iran will do it. Yes, they will do it. But you need to support them by bombing a variety of targets that can support them. And I think that we need to move and not to, if we go to negotiation, it will be terrible because the Iranians, they will play their game. And then, I think that there is no solution to the Iranian problem, to the Iranian threat to regional and global security, but by replacing the regime. Now, I have another example. I assume, I don't know if Iranians that they look for the son of the Shah, the queen, the crown prince or whatever the name is.
Yeah.
But if he is a leader, if he has the leadership inside him, you cannot move the Iranian people by talking with a three-piece suit from Washington. It doesn't work.
Right.
You have to, I propose that he needs to go to the Americans and ask them to put him in Iran, in places where it's more secure for him, and to ignite the in parallel to an American attack. Otherwise, just speaking will not do the trick.
Yeah, this reminds me of actually the maneuver that Khamenei did in 79 when he got on a plane and landed in Tehran, and that was the final catalyst. That was the final nail.
That's what you need in Iran. Even though I'm hearing, I'm not aware of how, I don't know how much support that he has. People tell me 30%. 30% is a lot of support.
Yeah.
80 million people, 30% is a lot of support. So
yeah.
I hope that once something happens, something moves, we can see the Iranian issue being dealt with. Otherwise, negotiating will take us nowhere, and we'll be in the same place for the next, I don't know how many decades.
Yeah. By the way, 30% is an interesting statistic because I once heard that was approximately the percentage of the Iranian population that actually supports the regime or has a stake in the regime.
So there you go.
So yeah. Let me ask you, do you think the Iranian people, we're talking about after reports, we've heard about 30,000, these are unconfirmed, 35,000 casualties in 2 days. If this is confirmed, this is one of the worst crimes against humanity in recent decades. In a single night to massacre this number of unarmed civilians.
Did you see any protest in Western capitals? In
Very quiet.
Any protest? And as we say, no Jews, no news.
Yes.
They don't care. And I've heard a friend of mine saying that maybe it's better that if we want, it's better that we say that Khamenei is a Jew. Maybe something will happen, that they will process. It's intolerable. There is energy in Iran. I think there is still energy in Iran. Just ignite it and do something. Yeah. Sitting and the discussing of options, and it will take you nowhere. It will be the case as the party that is over once you are ready for it.
Okay, so you're talking about the danger of paralysis through analysis, and that's very clear. What do you think about the idea of an oil embargo to lead to their further collapse economically?
Well, everything should be in parallel. Hit their oil industry, hit their gas industry, hit let's say government facilities and symbols, hit the state symbols. There are the tens of families of targets that you can do, that you can put in and do it. But sanction, it's all layers of pressure, but that's it. So if we just think that with sanctions and no kinetic, doing it with cyber, maybe no kinetic activity will not do the trick. We need to support the Iranian people to take their destiny in their own hand. Otherwise, it will not work.
What should the Israeli role be? Let's assume that there will be a strike at some point soon. what should Israel do, assuming, and I will simulate in this simulation that the Iranians do not attack Israel, do not want to draw us into this existential crisis that they're already facing. What do you think Israel should do?
Look, I'll tell you, my bottleneck is not if Israel should strike or not. Israel should do any contribution with the Americans, and I'll tell you, even without the Americans, but we have to be coordinated with America. So that I don't see a possibility that only Israel strikes and supports the Iranian people. This is an opportunity, an historical opportunity. So if Americans start, of course, Israel should join, regardless of whether the Iranians attack us or not, unless the Americans prefer to do it on their own. Yes, but
Yeah.
we should support this activity because the game is so high. We cannot say only if we are hit we will retaliate. That doesn't work. And if they hit us, they hit us. But we need to finish the Iranian problem, and only one thing finish it: the change of regime.
Right. Now, let's take this opportunity to just briefly, if you can just explain to the viewers the danger that the Iranian regime poses at an existential level to Israel's security, to Israel's existence, their ideology, their role as the engine of a proxy machine. How do you view Iran's role over the past since the founding of the Islamic Revolution?
More than I think 45 years.
Yeah.
Look, Iran is seeking for regional and global hegemony. No, that's it. So it's their Islam. They want to convert everybody to Islam, or they kill you, or you become a slave state for Iran, starting regionally and then expanding slowly. We have seen how they expanded the revolution to Latin America, to Lebanon, to Iraq. Also in Saudi Arabia, there's some activity, and to Yemen, and then they try to expand, and also to Jeddah and Samaria. Yes, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And Iran, even being in a very dire straits, let's say, in a dire straits of economic situation, and difficulty in their economy, they will not stop because they have values that are beyond their existence. Beyond, it's like what we have, you know, it's Islam. They will be willing to die and not surrender. So this is it. And I don't think that they will stop their ambition. And if they don't have enough money, they will settle with, as I say, with bread, olives, and onions, and that's it. But they will still chase to surround us with a ring of fire and to start with us and then continue with the rest of the world.
Yeah. And that's why the only solution, this can't be managed, cannot be contained. The goal has got to be the collapse of the regime.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you something, you know, we have a tendency to put our logic and our values on the enemies and to say, okay, their considerations are similar to our considerations. That's how we failed throughout history, at least Yom Kippur War.
Yeah.
Sinwar is a great example that we say, okay, he's looking for his people's prosperity. And also Iran. So I hear people say, well, if Israel does not attack, Iran will not retaliate. So why would they want Israel also to attack them? I say, why do we try to envision and predict how they think? Just get rid of this habit. We don't know how, we don't understand how their logic works, and we don't know how they think. Do whatever is good for you. And that's the case also with Iran when I say, well, now we should attack them regardless of whether they attack us or don't attack. We should do our utmost to replace and to change this regime.
In other words, once we recognize them as an obvious existential threat, we're not supposed to calculate our steps based on what they're doing right now, what we think they might do, but rather to just continuously focus on eliminating.
Absolutely. And I always, to the intelligence guys, I always say, look, whatever you do, don't predict how your enemy thinks. Only read what they write, hear what they say, and watch what they do. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And focus on the capabilities. I assume that's also critical.
That's what they do. That's develop capabilities. That's what they do.
Let's jump to our backyard in the Gaza Strip. We're in a very strange situation where we're moving, and I'm putting this in quote marks, to phase two of an agreement that has been violated at least hundreds of times already by Hamas. Many people are not following this. I, because of my job, have got to follow this, and I see that almost every single day, Hamas is sending terror cells across the yellow line. It's firing and testing the IDF. It's trying to rebuild its terror capabilities, and it has succeeded in rebuilding its terror political regime. And already it's brainwashing, the next generation of Gazans to jihad. So, I mean, the ceasefire is already being violated in many, many ways by Hamas. And yet, because of what seems to be American pressure, the Israeli government, Prime Minister Netanyahu, is right now going along with this phase two. And it seems to me that he has no faith that this is going to lead anywhere. This is all about American-Israeli relations and nothing to do with Netanyahu's assessment.
But I'll tell you, you're right. Your assessment is right. But I'll tell you something. First of all, the end goal. I think we have both the same interest. The Americans and Israel want Hamas out of Gaza and want Gaza demilitarized.
Yep.
Demilitarized, yes. Now, how to achieve that? That's the issue. There are two options. And I think Benjamin Netanyahu said it, and then also Trump said it. Either they will do it willingly, which is surrender their weapons, and I think the agreement provides them two options: either they stay in Gaza, or they get grace, or they live outside of Gaza. Okay, that's one.
Yep.
Or Israel will do it. Now, to disassemble Hamas from its weapons and to kill Hamas. Now, I just want our viewers to understand the problem in Gaza is not Hamas. The problem is the barbarian mob that is living in Gaza. And once Hamas is not there, they will invent new Hamas. Hamas B, Hamas C, Hamas whatever. So this is a big problem. Now, first of all, the issue is disassembling Hamas from its weapons. This is it, and they surrender, killed, whatever. These are the two options. And I think we understand together with American that, and the Americans are trying to do their best to convince or to pressure the sponsor of Hamas, Turkey and Qatar, to achieve this without force. But anyway, after this is achieved, there is the issue of demilitarizing Gaza. How we are going to do it? Now look at the places that we control, the IDF controls. We still are discovering tunnels every day, and we destroy every night, every day, infrastructure, terror infrastructure. Now, it will take years to do the same in the area that is Hamas's control, because as we speak, Hamas building more tunnels. I know that they are digging more tunnels. They're putting booby traps and whatever they can put to try to combat the IDF if it comes, when it comes. So those are the two options. I think in the end state, Hamas will not be there. It's very convenient for me to say to my colleagues here, consider the part that Hamas holds. It's an American territory. Consider this is an American territory. They took over this territory, and they want to build whatever they want to build there. They will not allow this kind of, they will not allow it. So the execution part is the IDF, or they have other execution parts, but it's an American territory. They want to build whatever they want to build there. So that's it. And I want to say one last thing. The ultimate solution for the issue of Gaza is the immigration of the population, because this population is under indictment. I don't know the word. Under
indoctrination.
Indoctrinated, and it's a barbarian mob. And still, even for instance, so the Gazan train, we want another 7 October. No, that's it. This is how we deal with. So you can imagine that these guys will become wearing suits and participating with the vision of Trump. I don't see it, but let's see. We need, anyway, Israel should focus on immigration, and try to find places and try to find ways to immigrate the population.
So let's pause on that for a moment. What do you make of the fact that we've got Gazan militias reportedly being armed by Israel, Shin Bet involvement, fighting Hamas, and actually some of them have openly allied with Israel? Is that an indication that there are some segments in Gazan society, even if they're small, that are willing to
I'll
openly?
tell you, Jacob, I'll tell you, once they finish fighting Hamas, they will start fighting with us. Okay? Don't forget that. That's how the barbarian mob in Gaza, that's their mind. So we are using them. We are being instrumental. We are using them. That's an intermediate, interim solution to see to help us, get things done in Gaza. But I don't think that it's any vision of doing it something permanent and having like peaceful Gaza armed Gazans. It does not happen. It will not happen.
Do you think that Germany was denazified after the Second World War? Do you think that Gazans, as a society, and I agree that they have been subject to decades of the most evil jihadist indoctrination imaginable? That's why they view us as subhumans and why most supported the 7th of October atrocities. So there's no argument there. The question is, do you think Israel and others in the region have the power to change that through re-education? Looking at the German precedent, do you think that can be replicated in the Gaza Strip?
I'll tell you, I've analyzed the German president and the Japanese president.
Yep.
Of denazification and demilitarizing, de-radicalizing the population of Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Both cases, those populations were in a state where they were fed up with the governing regime. Even the Germans in Nazi, only a fraction was in the end trying to save the Nazis and stay Nazis. And this is one difference. The second one is these states were surrounded by states that were supporting the operation of denazification.
Right.
In Israel, Gazans, first of all, they are still indoctrinated and support the activities, the atrocities of Hamas. But the surrounding Arab states, Egypt, Jordan, whatever there are, the Palestinians, the energy, they still, Egypt, we should say it clear. Egypt is happy when Israel is bleeding. And they will continue to push to remove I wrote an article regarding the de-Hamasification of Gaza.
Mm-hmm.
We should do it, and we should move forward to it, but it is very difficult because the Arabs, allies of Hamas, and they push energy for them to stay. Even Qatar and Turkey, okay, they might, under the pressure of Trump, I don't know if they'll do it. And let's say they might manage to get Hamas out or even to do something, but they will still push for this Islamic Brotherhood to push and bleed Israel as much as they can.
Okay. And do you think that, let's assume that at some point in the next, say, 12 months, the cabinet gives the IDF the green light and Southern Command leads an operation into Gaza City, months of combat, and Hamas is uprooted, as it doesn't control a millimeter anymore. The Muslim Brotherhood terror regime as an entity, as an experiment, is over, whatever they want to say or think. Do you think that in itself can damage the ideology, can harm the credibility, the attractiveness of the Islamist ideology in the region?
I don't think so. It's embedded within Islam. 600 years. I don't know. It's 1,500 years from the beginning of Islam, or 400 years, 1,400 years. It's embedded in Islam. That the Dar al-Harb. It means that we only mitigate with you if you become Islamic, or you pay us some kind of,
The jizya.
it will not change. It will not change. And as I mentioned, the Gaza experiment is an experiment, but Turkey is pushing and advocating the brotherhood, the Islamic Brotherhood, and they will find another, like a volcano that finds where to erupt from where. So it will erupt in another place. Always, what it will erupt, targeting Israel, regardless when it will happen. We'll see. We see how the Sunni organization let's say, the ISIS organization and the jihadists in Syria. It's the same. It's the same.
I'm just about to ask you about Syria, so just 1 second, we'll get to there. But a final question about the radical Islamic, let's call it chokehold on the region. I'm going to still try and look for a ray of light. You tell me if this is right or wrong. The UAE appears to have undergone a real organic fundamental shift, a truly moderate leadership, which is interested in working with Israel. We see cooperation all over the place, from Somaliland to other places. A lot of it, of course, is classified, but the education, I mean, there seems to be a model here in the UAE of a moderate Islam that not only wants to cooperate with us, but actually needs Israel to continue to flourish. How do you view the UAE, let's say, addition to the map? Could this mean something bigger?
I don't know. I really don't know. The UAE is a great experiment. I don't know. I don't know how sustainable it is. Let's see. We need history to show how sustainable it is, but it's a great experiment. It looks very good. To make Gaza look like the UAE, well, I'll say you will need, at least 100 years, maybe.
A century.
You need to shift the whole. Gaza does not start from where the UAE began.
Right.
It has a negative. First of all, it has to overcome the negative part and then to go to the positive.
Right.
100 years is a reasonable estimate. And what happens during those 100 years, maybe they still do, the negative energy will still become realized, and they will do some terror attacks. I don't know. That's why I mentioned, if you leave it as is, the barbarian mobile Gaza will generate another Hamas, another Islamic Jihad.
Right. Let's jump to Syria, because you already mentioned it. And here there seems to be another strange situation. I would call it sort of a gray zone, where on the ground, we seem to be seeing the formation of an Islamist regime. We already see the indoctrination. It seems very similar to what they were teaching the kids in Gaza. We're seeing attacks and slaughter of minorities, Kurds, Druze, Alawites, and yet we're also seeing what seems to be sort of Muslim Brotherhood style tactical so-called pragmatism, getting legitimacy from President Trump, getting sanctions taken off, pretty sophisticated maneuvering vis-a-vis the West, and trying to force Israel to withdraw from the Syrian side of the Golan Heights, the 9 military posts. How do you read this regime? Because we have a real debate in this country about how we should proceed, and some people still seem to think that there's an opportunity here, and other people, and I have to admit that I'm in the skeptical camp here, think we've seen this before. This looks like an Islamist tactical temporary hudna, and this is going to be a long-term threat going forward. How do you view the al-Shara regime?
First of all, to those optimistic guys, I would say, well, if you think that something else, okay, let them do their trick. And in 50 years, if they are changed, we'll see. In the meantime, we are not giving up any assets. Okay, that's my position. We should. They want to have a change. They want to change. They say they want to change. Let's wait for actions and see, and realities to see. Turkey, on the other hand, is pushing its energy into Syria. Look, Turkey has conquered 9,000 square kilometers of Syria.
Wow.
And this is a third of Israel. They conquered it, and they made the Turkish lira is the currency. They speak Turkish. They conquered it completely. They annexed it.
And
And
nobody
nobody in
cares.
Turkey is saying, what about Israel? And it does not, in French, my mother used to say, le chameau ne voit pas sa bosse. The camel doesn't see his, whatever.
His hump. The camel doesn't see his own hump.
Yeah,
Yeah.
le chameau. Yeah. So that's the situation. Israel, first of all, should not consider even moving, and I would say even we need to enlarge the security barrier that we have in Syria. This is one. Secondly, regarding the Druze, we must, and I propose that we should initiate a Druze division that is combined. Of course, it's part of the IDF. It's combined with Druze from the Golan Heights and Druze from the Sweda and El Khader. So Druze from Syria that we will connect. Once they are connected, they will need to control the security of Khader and also of the road to Sweda. So we have a corridor, a secure corridor secured by a Druze division that is not even supported. It's part of the IDF.
Uh-huh. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think that's what we should do. That's regarding the Druze, because there is on the way, if you try to go from Khader to Sweda, you pass through very hostile areas of jihadists. So we need to have this kind of force, and within the agreement, I would highly expect to have this kind of security, let's say, tool that we have. Now, regarding this guy, Giuliani or whatever, he controls whatever he controls. Those are barbarians as well. And he managed to fool the Americans. He was giving him perfume and say, what a handsome guy, whatever. Well, we should not be confused. Those are jihadists, and we should make sure that they are blocked of attacking the Druze and the Golan Heights, the Israeli Golan Heights.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me, when you talked about the Druze division, that the IDF used to have a Druze brigade, but this was for the different kind of population. This was for the Israeli Druze.
Now, what I propose is to have also Syrian Druze part of this division.
Right, and that kind of triggers a memory of a little bit of the SLA, the Southern Lebanese Army.
Yeah. We let's say we are not have very high reputation in this area of having our proxies. Yes, we should learn from the best teachers in the Middle East, the Iranians, how to manage proxies.
Right. Now, let me ask you a final question about the Israeli defense establishment in the I don't want to call it a post-war era, but let's call it a high-intensity combat phase that we're in right now. Now, I've read through a lot of the after-action reviews that the IDF has written. I actually read them down to some of the finest details, and I noticed that there was a fierce debate about how much the IDF has learned and hasn't learned. And I just want to share one impression with you and then get your take, especially because you opened this conversation about criticism of the IDF. My sense, when I speak to commanders, when I read some of the tahkirim, the AAR, the after-action reviews, there are obviously many things that are still missing in this learning process, and I'm sure you'll have a lot to say about that. But there's also one thing that appears positive, which is that the IDF seems to have learned that it has to be in front of the civilians in every border where there is a threat, that it has to eliminate capabilities and threats as they form. And this is written now, this is codified, that there's no more waiting and watching and containment and deterrence, that these concepts are finished as guiding concepts. And when threats are formed, they are removed in real time. That's at least what they're saying. That's what they've said to me in briefings, and that's what I've read in the documents. I view that as a positive, and I think there's still a lot missing in this learning process. How do you view the learning process of the entire defense establishment in the post-October 7th era?
Well, look, the reports or the investigation, whatever the IDF did, was mainly dealing with the trees, the bits and pieces of the actions, not with the wood, not seeing the forest.
Mm-hmm.
We have a problem on the strategic level. We have a problem. First of all, you mentioned it. our defense, the first principle of defense should be offense. This is it. We should understand it. We should put it in. And now I know a little bit involved with developing the new Israeli, let's say, security concept, the security strategy of Israel. And I think it is critical that we change this concept to say our defense is mainly dependent on our offensive activity.
Right.
We should not allow anymore the development of threats. We should deal with them immediately, even if they are small. We should deal with them immediately. So this is a change that we need to have. It does exist, let's say, in our political establishment. It is yet, it's the IDF is still the 6th of October IDF, and they will do it. But you have to push them to do it.
Okay.
Okay. Now, the main bottleneck of the IDF is not that. We have a problem with the senior command of the IDF, which are, first of all, they do not. I'm saying it in, it's in pain. They do not have a clue of military conduct. You could say
Still
the
today,
IDF commander does not understand military conduct. I say yes.
Wow.
They are dealing with many things, political things, with economical things, with the relations with the US, with strategic issue, but to kill the enemy. That's your job. That's why you get uniform. That's why you get budget. That's your job, to kill your enemy. Well, we have yet to learn that, and I think this is a big, let's say, bottleneck with our senior commanders. What you saw, the outcome of our fighting in Gaza, in Lebanon, in Syria, by the ground forces, was due to this understanding was still in the ground forces. They did not spoil themselves, but the senior command, terrible. And so, as an outcome, I think that we should change the way senior command is being appointed to their jobs. How the process should be done. It should not be only in the hands of the IDF chief of the general staff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we should have more political control over the IDF, which is lacking terribly. And I also recommend that we assign the prime minister as the commander-in-chief of the IDF. Well, we should have some checks and balances. Some decisions will need still an acceptance of the, let's say, the Ministry of Defense or the cabinet. But, just to imagine, our Patsarit, what's the name in English?
The Chief Military Advocate General, I think that is. Yeah.
What we've seen with this lady.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
She still holds a general rank. She still gets a general salary. And her trial will be maybe in 5 years. When I say the Minister of Defense has no authority to fire her from the IDF, has no authority to take her to make her private. This is unacceptable. And I say we need authorities, political authorities, to do some actions within the IDF. For example, get rid of officers that do not behave or do not behave professionally or don't behave morally, whatever.
This is basically the American model. The president
more of it. I don't expect that let's say the prime minister will give a presidential order, as the in Vietnam to the soldiers standing in the gate of the embassy.
Right.
But we need to find our own model. But the current situation is terrible, where the IDF is the chief of the general staff is the commander-in-chief. It's impossible.
So one of the things, and will be the final question of this episode, and I know that you've been talking about this a lot, especially since this war, but I think also before this war, is the danger of groupthink And this again goes back to the very beginning of our conversation. Do you see, first of all, two questions. Do you see any improvement in that at the senior rank? Any willingness to bring in, red teams to challenge orthodox concepts? And B, what do you think needs to be done structurally to bring in different points of view and to challenge groupthink?
When you try to do it structurally, India, for example, the intelligence branch has enlarged their let's say,
Supervision department.
yeah. What do you think? It will change anything? It will only give more jobs. So it has to be something in your intellectual ability. Be doubtful. Not only say it, because the previous Khalifa, the previous head of our intelligence, was saying it all the time. But he was saying it and doing whatever, just try to be against him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is something to have to be with a cultural understanding. And our educational process has to try to put it in. I thought, and I think, and also I wrote it in the book, that the IDF should only have military intelligence. That's it. And we should have only, I'm talking not collection-wise, but assessment-wise.
Mm-hmm.
Should have a civilian assessment unit completely isolated with the Chinese wall between the IDF and the civilian, which will get also the information and will generate their own assessment. And then it will be also a political assessment. Let's say political,
diplomatic, political, strategic,
assessment. Yes. So this is a more structural. I don't know if it will solve this problem. I don't know if it will solve the problem, because this problem exists from the beginning of history.
Of course, cognitive bias.
Yes, the book of Norman Dixon, about how military, incompetence is being dealt with. That's a problem. It's a universal problem, but we suffer, for us, this universal problem made us the 7th of October. So it's not, it's not theoretical. We need to find ways. And I think I try to evaluate a few ways in my book and to see what we can do about it.
Very interesting. And of course, our room for error is so much smaller than that of other nations that it's not even...
That's what I meant. And never put your let's say your energy, your actions on what you think the enemy will do. Leave it. Just only look at what they are doing and not what they think.
Yes. Yeah, well, I totally agree with that. Gabi Siboni, thank you so much for being on this podcast. I'm sure that our viewers have a lot to think about after this conversation. And I hope that the system also will listen to you, because I think that that's critical as well. So thank you so much. And I look forward to our next conversation.
Thank you. Thank you, Jacob.